taking my hair out like this. It reminds me like when I was 16 in the Bronx, running up and down the block. A crazy little girl.
The poor waiters and waitresses are scrambling, trying to make her happy, offering to get things from other restaurants. And finally she's like, ugh, it's disgusting. Just take it all away. Take it all away.
Immediately when I walk up to the table, she looks up at me and says the words, somebody else.
Your 2023 Woman of the Year.
My 2023 Woman of the Year. Ooh. I think my Woman of the Year... So this is actually a little bit different because I don't think I've ever covered like a celebrity, a mainstream celebrity such as J-Lo. But I mostly just cover like media, YouTube, TikTokers, internet celebrities, like if you can call it that. Mostly just influencers. I've never covered anyone as big as this, but I have been browsing through TikTok and the memes, the hilarity of people talking about their own experiences with Miss Jenny from the Block herself. And if you don't know who I'm talking about, which I'm assuming a lot of you guys do, Jennifer Lopez, you know, J-Lo, Jennifer, Jenny from the Block. Anyway, early 2000s was kind of like her peak, all right? And the amount of people who are now coming out who are saying, you know, I worked for celebrity nannies, I was their server, people that have come into contact with her talking about what an utter wreck she is to people who are either serving her, associated with people who are serving her. She's just not a very nice person in real life.
And even if we wanted to speak to them or see them, we would not be able to, and J-Lo would not have to suffer the indignity of, you know, having to look at us.
I think it's always been somewhat common knowledge that J-Lo's just does not treat anyone like her. Anyone who she deems beneath her, she's not very nice about. Jenny from the Block herself, she came out with this movie, which is basically imagine Beyonce Lemonade. Jennifer decided that she was going to tackle her one. Bearing in mind, isn't she married to Ben Affleck, who... Isn't he like a really big time movie director? He didn't want to fund it. He didn't really want much to do with it. Everyone around her was declining her request to get involved with this.
I don't think he's very comfortable with me doing all of this. But he loves me. He knows I'm an artist and he's gonna support me in every way he can.
I haven't actually seen it, but I've seen segments of it here and there. And I mean, just based on the movie reviews, awful.
I just finished J-Lo's new movie. Where do I begin? If you're curious about the plot, so am I. And I just watched it. It's some like mythological story where she like chases a magical hummingbird. Like Pan's Labyrinth meets a J-Lo music video. It's a movie no one asked for.
You know, her trials and tribulations through her love and marriages and like her finding Ben, and like that's what I envision it to be about based on what other people have said. Like I said, I'm not a J-Lo, not even a J-Lo fan. I'm not a J-Lo like queen of knowledge, but this is based on what I've seen over on TikTok. The reviews came flooding in, no one likes it, and people then started taking the mickey out of her. On IMDb, it had a 4 point something out of 10. Like, no one's liking it. Even the Rotten Tomatoes reviews are not very good. It's just not looking very good for her. But she persevered. She was trying to sell out shows quite recently. I think she's literally had to like cancel a few of her tour dates. And as well as that, she's managed to kind of screw up her touring, and she's now, instead of promoting, I think it was meant to be a new album, instead of promoting that, she's now just doing like greatest hits, which, I mean, I can only think of a couple, I'm not gonna lie. And the thing is that she's not even the person that's actually singing a lot of her songs. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but she is not the person that's even really singing her songs.
What was your go-to order at the bodega?
My go-to order at the bodega was ham and cheese on a roll with an orange drink, if you know, you know, and a small bag of chips.
You best believe that TikTok jumped on it, because the one thing that J-Lo, and you can even get this from her song Jenny from the Block, because she's from the Bronx, okay? This has always been a thing with her where she's like, you know, I know where I've come from. I'm Jenny from the block. Used to have a little, now I got a lot, that kind of thing. No matter where I go, I know where I came from. Which, as we're about to find out in a minute, is so far from the truth because she literally treats people like utter crap. Like, she doesn't even want to look at people. People who are serving her, people who she deems beneath her, she literally calls them people. We're going to find out in a minute. People started ripping into her, just like, wait, what?
And a small bag of chips.
That is the most plain order. What chips? Like, what drink? Like, what? Nothing else in the sandwich? My mom lived in the Bronx. I'm going to call her right now. I'm going to ask her what her bodega order is. Watch.
Hi, papi.
Hey, Mama. How are you doing?
I'm okay. You?
Good. I'm doing good. I have a quick question for you.
Yes, I probably have an answer.
When you were living in the Bronx, what was your go-to order in the bodega?
Let me see if I remember. A double triple bossy deluxe on a rack, 4x4 animal style. Extra shingles with a shimmy and a squeeze. Light axle grease, make it cry, burn it, and let it swim. And if you know, you know, my boricuas.
Wow, that sounds like an amazing sandwich. Like, for the drink, did you get, like an orange drink?
What the fuck is an orange drink?
And people were going like, the Bronx does not claim you. And it just got worse because then there were then snippets from her film where this is what she had to say.
Like taking my hair out like this. It reminds me like when I was 16 in the Bronx, running up and down the block. A crazy little girl who used to be wild and no limits, all dreams and
When I tell you, people were just taking the mickey out of her, left and right, taking the absolute mickey. And as this is all coming in, she's starting to paint this image of like being, you know, that crazy girl running down through the Bronx, like she's really a part of her community. She knows where she comes from, guys. Like, we should all support her. It's almost as if she's trying to gain support through a community, a population, people in general that just don't really like her for her upcoming tours. But she's always said, like, do you remember that video that went around of her walking past where she used to live? And she was like, I used to live here. That was my room. And the guy's like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Jennifer. I'm Jayla. They don't know who you are.
Hi. I used to live here. I used to live here. Huh? My name is Jennifer.
Jennifer?
Yeah, I used to live and then my room was upstairs right there. Jennifer Lopez.
Who's Jennifer Lopez?
Me. I used to live here.
Okay. And it just gets worse. So now what has now happened is, because everyone was taking the mickey out of her, because people were just like, would you please stop talking about the Bronx? Like, you're not a part of us. We have nothing in common. We do not claim you. Leave us alone. Because all of that started happening, people were then coming out with their own personal experiences of like either serving her or people who was someone else's personal assistant, and then they then had to kind of wait on JLo a little bit. Some of these are absolutely outrageous. There's this woman who was a personal assistant to someone who was like a really mega rich celebrity, and she was paid, I think, $90,000 a year. And this lady basically, because the woman doesn't say, she doesn't give away exactly who it is, obviously, because you're going to have NDAs and all of this kind of stuff. But she now no longer works for them. But she was hosting a dinner party. It was her job to basically get the catering, get the chefs and all of that, and make sure everything's okay for her boss. And then JLo and some other people were coming for like a little girls' night or whatever.
It was about my second week working for Susan. And I was in her office doing some things she had asked me to do, and she was on a phone call on speakerphone with Jennifer Lopez. They were just shooting the shit, and Susan just happened to mention that she had a new assistant, to which JLo responded, oh, I'm looking for a new assistant myself. Out of curiosity, what do you pay your assistant? Susan said, I started her at $90K, to which JLo responded, you are absolutely crazy. The max those people should get paid is $55. I pay my current assistant $50. let me make sure you heard me. She paid her current assistant $50 and thought those people should not get paid more than $55. And my employer at the time was very, very wealthy. Not nearly as wealthy as Jennifer Lopez. My employer was very, very difficult. Not nearly as difficult as Jennifer Lopez. And she was paying her just a little more than half what I was making.
Can you even imagine saying to someone, you know, them people, why do you pay them people? To be someone's personal assistant, you would expect to be paid more than, what was it, 55? J-Lo was only paying her assistant like, 55, 50. You're not, can you imagine being J-Lo's assistant? Can you imagine the absolute pain?
Susan gave me instructions to prepare for this girls' night. I had to hire 2 chefs for this night, and she had a list of things that were, you know, dietary restrictions and preferences and things like that for the chef. The plan was that myself and both chefs would be there that night so that we can cater to whatever the women needed. And on this list of things that Susan gave me included very specific instructions that were related to Jennifer Lopez, including do not address her in any way, do not even look at her. These instructions came from Susan, but they were based on her knowledge of things that were and were not acceptable to J-Lo. So at some point, Susan let J-Lo know that there would be 3 staff members on hand at the other side of the house that would be there to tend to whatever they needed, but they would have no interaction whatsoever with anyone. And even if we wanted to speak to them or see them, we would not be able to, and J-Lo would not have to suffer the indignity of, you know, having to look at us.
And this is not an isolated event either, okay? So I then found another TikTok where there was this, there was a server who served at a restaurant kind of place, and she was instantly dismissed by J-Lo. So she walked over and was saying, I'm your waitress, can I get you anything kind of thing. J-Lo literally took one look at her and just went, no.
Miss Lopez comes into the restaurant. At this point, she was probably the most famous person that I was ever going to wait on besides Dustin Hoffman. I walked up to Dustin's table and I was like, Dusty! And he loved it. He ate it up. He thought I was a sweetheart. So Miss I'm Just Jenny from the Block had sat in my section in a booth similar to this, right? Like she's got maybe 4 or 5 people with her. There's enough room for them. When I walk up to the table, she looks up at me and says the words, somebody else. Me wanting to like cover up for that, I'm like, I'm sorry, is this booth not appropriate? And she said, no, we want a new waiter.
How bad is that? But this is all, like, what the hell? And the thing is that people wouldn't be making such a big stink out of this, even though it is literally deplorable to treat another human being like that. It doesn't matter if you're a celebrity or not. It is deplorable to speak to people like that. Especially as, you know, I've got waitressing experience. I used to waitress a lot when I was, when I was a bit younger. If you enjoy waitressing, you enjoy waitressing. Some people I worked with, like, were in their 40s, 50s, and they loved waitressing. They said, they were like, I don't want to do anything else. This is what I do. And then, you know, you have people like J-Lo who literally look down their nose. Yet she's trying to gain a community of people who are most likely, you're going to have people who live in the Bronx who are working those kind of jobs. And you're then trying to then get those people on board with saying, oh, I'm just like you guys. We're all the same. It's like, you look down on those people. You look down on all of us. One of the ones which was utterly disgusting, which once again goes in line with the whole like servers, assistants, waitresses, is there was this nanny, a celebrity nanny who had booked like a tour of Disney, and she was being walked around by this guy who literally turned around to her and told her this horrible story about how he had the day before had the worst experience because J-Lo had come in with her kids and had basically requested that nobody be in this particular restaurant, and they had to cancel, which I don't know why, like, why would you do this? They had to cancel like like loads of people. Anyone that was meant to be in that restaurant one day, and you know, Disneyland parks and stuff, you're gonna have to book those restaurants out in advance. The little I know that that's one of the things that, you know, is a bit of a waiting time for those kind of things. She literally requested that she didn't want anyone, just like, you know, just any old riffraff coming in. She just wanted it to be her and the kids or whatever.
And he told me that she was just absolutely horrible to him. She was so rude. Not once you're with them for many hours, and not once did she look him in the eye. She always just kind of had her, you know, just head up in the air and bad attitude. So when you order your private guide, it's usually before the day it's happening. And they ask you, do you want to have reservations at any restaurants or shows or whatever, just to make sure everything's lined up for you. So I guess she didn't do that. And I think the day of, she told them that, oh, we want to have lunch at this particular restaurant. And I believe it was a character experience or something like that. So it's one that usually books out a month in advance or something. And because it's J-Lo, no peasants could be in her presence while she's dining. So they not only had to cancel everyone's reservations, like, you know, for a several hour block for her that probably had made it months ago, so that she didn't have to look at the poor people, you know?
They closed the whole entire thing down, and the way that she was treating the staff was disgusting.
And she just, you know, orders everything on the menu times 10. And, you know, the food comes out and she's just complaining, loud about how terrible everything is, and this is disgusting, this is horrible, and just very upset. And, you know, the poor waiters and waitresses are scrambling, trying to make her happy, offering to get things from other restaurants. And finally she's like, ugh, it's disgusting, just take it all away, take it all away. And she's like, I just want to go. He doesn't pay the bill. And has the guide take her to the car. For some reason, I don't think he drove her. They usually pick you up at the hotel, but I think she had her own driver. So he's walking her to where her car is, and they get to the car, and she goes, where's my food? And he's like, excuse me? And she's like, my food. Where's all my food that she didn't pay for? And she said it was disgusting and sent away. And he said, oh, I didn't know you wanted it to go. And she's like, well, of course I do. And he's like, okay, let me take care of that. And they start, you know, feverishly remaking everything, boxing it up. And she's already in the car with everyone, waiting for her food. So he runs back to the restaurant to help the people start bringing out the bags. And they get to the car and they had taken off.
Just ended up leaving anyway. But this all falls in line. The way that she treats people who she deems as beneath her, calling them, you know, those people. I've always thought that J-Lo, does she even have any fans? I don't know. I don't think she's mega talented, coming from someone who is not talented in any of those areas, but I have ears and I have eyes. Okay, she gets other people to do her singing for her. She can dance a little bit. Is her acting okay? Yeah, it's okay, but it's not going to win her any Oscars, is it? I think that we can all unanimously agree that J-Lo is not going to appeal to today's audience. And that's not just because, I mean, in my own opinion, I don't really think she's that good at what she does, but that's just my own opinion. But not just because of that, but because she is so downright disgusting to the people around her. And those are not the only videos, by the way. There are so many videos. Like, there are so many videos. You can just go on, type in J-Lo, whatever, J-Lo experience. I don't know what you'd even type, actually. Anyway, as soon as you get put on that side of TikTok, it will just be string after string after string. All of them have a similarity in the sense that J-Lo is not kind to the people around her. She doesn't care, which is like utterly stupid, because her only way, especially when, even now actually, her way of making money is to try and appeal to people. And especially in today's age, I don't think she's gonna do very well, because she isn't particularly great. She doesn't even sing her own songs. Like, what else am I gonna say? She literally doesn't even sing her own songs. How has she got any redeeming qualities in the celebrity world? I feel like this video has just gone off on such a tangent, but anyway, that's pretty much all I wanted to say. It was completely off of what I normally talk about. Not think I'll be talking about Jennifer Lopez, Miss Jenny from the block over here. But I have done, and I hope you guys really enjoyed it. Hope you guys have a wonderful day wherever you are in this world. Take care of each other, take care of yourselves, and I will catch up with you guys in the next video.